A metallic crack ricocheted across the underground garage, a single starter pistol blast that sounded far too hungry for blanks. The concussion rolled along the concrete ribs overhead, bounced off ductwork, then tunneled back as a second-hand heartbeat. Sodium emergency lamps stuttered in reply, yellow, dead, yellow, before surrendering to darkness. For half a breath, the only light came from the lavender casino sign outside, its glow squeezing through the ramp grates like city smoke under a door. Ali didn't wait for a second shot. He lunged around the Cadillac's tail fin, soles sliding on an oil rainbow. Gunmetal growl followed him. Dress shoes, narrow-heeled, built for boardrooms, not chases. He tore at the trunk latch, chrome colder than a dentist's tool, found it already sprung. No bundles of cash, only a fresh BASF reel sealed in clear poly. He cradled it, thumb finding a bead of sticky gel at the seam. Not blood, too syrupy, chemical. Stage blood, a signal to someone with the right codebook. A hulking silhouette entered the lane, a Soviet double-breasted overcoat, epaulets trimmed off but outline still visible. The man's voice was glass dragged across gravel. "First round, champ. Nothing fancy. Float, don't sting, or your friend stops breathing before the bell." He lifted the starter pistol. The snub barrel steamed where oil burned off the blank. Ali's fingers closed around the reel, slid it beneath his maroon leisure shirt. Magnetic tape kissed skin, icy against the furnace of adrenaline. He spun left, cutting between a Plymouth Fury and a panel van, bumper chrome peeling like old guitar strings. The pursuer's footsteps slapped closer, cadence steady, professional. A distant siren coiled upward from street level, Doppler warping its cry as the ramp mouth inhaled night air. Halfway to the exit, he spotted a plastic fob on the floor, an embossed crest from the Imperial Suite at the Riviera Hotel. Volkov's billet. So the Russian wasn't quarterbacking this play after all. He was in the same vice. Ali pocketed the clue, vaulted a parking barrier, and dropped behind a Mustang. His ribs barked. He'd cut morning roadwork to rest a nagging cartilage tear. Now it screamed for payback. Somewhere above, a traffic report crackled from a portable transistor left on a tool cart. Dollar sliding to 87.17 against the yen, more after sports. Anchoring the scene to the hour, gasoline vapors layered with tire rubber and the faint perfume of antifreeze. A shock strut squeaked each time the garage settled under midtown vibration, adding its tiny hinge creak to the mix. Ali inhaled, blinked sweat clear. The inner monologue came in clipped spikes. Find daylight. Pause. Protect the reel. Pause. No first-round dance. He crawled under the Mustang's axle as loafer tips clicked past. The Soviet's coat hem brushed concrete. A briefcase banged a door, followed by a curse in accented English. Small victory. Emergency lamps blinked alive, bathing the maze in bleached honey. Ali sprinted, lungs tearing, pulling heat out of every shadow. He bounced off a pillar, shot through the payment booth, shoulder-checking the glass so hard the attendant screamed. Outside, neon swallowed him. Roulette reds, gin blue cab lights, furnace oranges of a strip billboard. Sound throttled down to tinnitus and the whip-whip of his pulse behind eardrums. 20 yards from Fremont Street, he slowed, faked a limp, melted into a drift of tourists chasing nightclub bass. Behind him, the overcoat exited, scanning, pistol now pocketed, trying to look like just another gambler late for last call. Another roar of sirens drove him back inside. Ali exhaled, senses ripping tickets from the moment. Ozone bite from a distant transformer, perfume of Chanel on a passing showgirl, popcorn carts wheezing butter steam. He pressed the reel tighter against his chest. Inside its coils were voices scheming to choreograph tomorrow's heavyweight title into a fixed ballet. Voices that promised death for deviation. A friend hanging from that promise. A stranger inside the opposite corner, shackled by the same. And Ali, champion famous for predicting rounds, now ordered to throw the very first seconds. 3 breaths. A taxi door slammed. He imagined the opening bell, the roar, the robotic float he'd be forced to perform. Then a different bell rang in his skull. A spar ring memory, Chicago 63. Drew's laugh when Ali missed a jab in the dim gym light. Nobody owns our rounds, Cassius. We lease them and pay in sweat. Ali stepped off the curb, hail signal to checker. Plan forming, muscles resetting. Someone was about to discover what happened when you tried to program the unpredictable. A flashbulb detonated, and for an instant the small conference suite looked like the inside of a brass cartridge. Everything hot white, edges overexposed, crowd frozen in a collective blink. Then the bulb died, headphones hissed with analog snow, and the room reverted to the sour odor of stale coffee, rubbing alcohol, and wool suits damp from Nevada drizzle. Ali sat on the physician's scale in nothing but training shorts. The bar slid right, stuttered, then found equilibrium at 221. Reporters jotted. The Polaroid ejecting from a camera on a long chrome stalk gave a cough and spat out a gray square that would darken into a legend's flesh. Across the carpet, Viktor Volkov stepped forward for his turn, pale torso knotted with scar tissue that told older stories than the Soviet press ever admitted. His handler murmured in Russian, placed a reassuring hand on the fighter's shoulder. But the big man's eyes rolled back, knees loosening as though someone had kicked the power cord out of him. He swayed, catching himself on the metal rail, and in that brief sag, Ali glimpsed a pinprick bruise in the deltoid, tiny, recent, wickedly precise. The audience gasped. Camera shutters flicked like cicadas. Ali pulled a towel around his waist and moved closer, but security ropes blocked the way. "Everything all right, champ?" a CBS tech whispered, adjusting a boom mic. Ali's glance answered nothing. He focused on the bruise, mind-mapping possibilities, sedatives, vasodilators, something to fog reaction time and ensure choreography. House lights betrayed a faint tremor, then snapped out completely. The ballroom collapsed into pitch, except for the battery glow of a single tape recorder still running on a side table. In the hush breaths overlapped, a nervous orchestra. Somewhere shoes scuffed, plexiglass cracked. Ali's ears tightened, filtering chaos. Cloth brushed cloth. A body leaned near his position. A thread of accented English slid through darkness. "Brother, plan bigger than ring. If bell rings wrong, we both—" The voice halted as flashlight beams lanced on again, officials yelling orders. Volkov had regained footing, but his stare now pleaded rather than challenged. Photographers fired strobes. The room turned into a stop-motion cartoon of confusion. A maintenance crewman in tan overalls rolled in a generator, cables looping like black licorice across floor tiles. As the fluorescence reignited, Ali noticed a stranger stationed by his entourage kit. The newcomer wore a green jacket too crisp to belong to the team and carried a silver case marked Nevada State Commiss. "Name's Myers. I'll handle your cuts tonight," he said, smiling through a pencil-thin mustache. He presented fresh wrist wraps already reeking of solvent masked by wintergreen. "Lab-tested, champ." Ali rotated the cloth pack, stitching pattern unfamiliar, threads glimmering with a faint oily sheen. Acetone, perhaps. Flammable, definitely. He met Myers' gaze, found no reflection behind the man's aviator lenses. "Tested where, exactly?" Ali asked. Myers maintained the grin, tapped the case. "Official." The champion slid the wraps into his duffel instead of accepting them, decision filed for later. Reporters, smelling blood of a different sort, clustered around a podium where the commission chair attempted calm. The chairman's mic squealed. Chatter subsided to a dull roar, punctuated by a single camera click louder than the rest. That lone image captured Ali half-turned, head slightly bowed, eyes cutting sideways at Volkov, who now sat sipping glucose from a paper cup, shoulders trembling under a towel bearing the CSTK Army Sports logo. Harsh fluorescent tubes cast merciless shadows. Faces looked like papier-mâché masks behind them. Ali's pupils fought the glare, mind sifting through fresh angles. A drugged opponent, counterfeit cornerman, compromised bandages. Plans within plans. He pressed thumb and forefinger together, feeling the tacky residue from Myers's wraps, vapors sharp as varnish, and counted heartbeats until they steadied. A promoter barked for posed shots, but Ali declined with a slight hand wave, moving instead to Volkov's side. Under the din, he muttered without moving lips, "Someone's writing our fight for us, my friend. We redraft before the ink dries." Volkov's breathing hitched. A hint of agreement, or fear, flickered behind weary eyes. Across the hall, a utility clock ticked, each second amplified by battered acoustics. Ali realized the rhythm matched the siren cadence from last night's garage chase, a reminder that time itself had joined the conspiracy. He turned toward the exit tunnel, towel still around his shoulders, and pushed through curtains of flashbulbs into the service corridor. The echo of the crowd died instantly, replaced by his own pulse thudding against eardrums, marking the distance to bell time and whatever ambush waited next. A filament inside the ballast light spat sparks, and the fixture above the service tunnel whined like a riled insect. Sickly jade pulses splashed across unpainted concrete, turning sweat-streaked walls into the belly of some submariner's nightmare. Ali paused beneath that nervous glow, towel now draped over taped fists, breath leaving frost-brief ghosts in the conditioned draft that seeped from arena ducts. Footsteps of stagehands clattered past, carrying coils of cable and boxes of pyro fuse. Sounds rippled ahead, bounced back distorted, crafting an uneasy metronome. At the mouth of the tunnel, a ticket inspector pinned laminated passes to a corkboard. Hanging among them, incongruous in its cheap brass glare, dangled a motel key stamped Room 417, Desert Moon Inn. Drew's lodging, Ali's sparring brother. The champion's stomach tightened. Proof of life or bait? He reached, but the usher's palm flattened over the tag. "Property office lost and found, sir." The man's eyes flicked sideways, then downward. Taped beneath the clipboard, a sugar packet-sized Polaroid revealed Drew, alive yet gagged, tonight's newspaper wedged under his bruised chin. Ali absorbed the image, nodded once, transaction understood, and walked on, heart-slugging ribs. 50 paces in, beneath bleachers where the crowd's roar was muffled to low ocean surge, a guard in a Sheriff Brown windbreaker intercepted him. No salute, no greeting. Just a swift brush of wrists, as if steadying Ali's balance, while a folded scrap slid inside glove cuff. The guard vanished as quickly, boots drumming up a stairwell. Ali's fingers found the note. Outer gauze laced with vapor, chloral payload. Replace or breathe your own curtain. His gaze snapped to the tape around his left hand. The new wraps offered earlier lay in his duffel, untouched. Yet Myers could have switched sets when flashbulbs blinded the weighing room. He flexed, searching for odor. Only camphor and leather so far. The warning remained. Distantly, the public address system tested horns, 2 moaning tones followed by a recorded female voice. 10 minutes to air. Echo chased itself along acoustic tiles overhead. Ali resumed forward motion, repeating silent commands. 4 breaths, shoulder loose, heel lift. Each instruction crisp, single use, burned once and discarded. Halfway down the passageway, a transformer buried behind cinder blocks surrendered with a dull pop. The tunnel exhaled into black, emergency beacons too slow to answer. For a heartbeat, only audience thunder existed, pouring through vents like surf. Then acrid insulation smoke crawled out, stinging nostrils, and battery strobes ignited along floor rails, splashing everything in crimson flicker. Trainers cursed, gophers tripped over tripod legs. Ali shut eyelids, counted beats in the stampede of shoes, matched them to pulses of red so he could map bodies without sight. Practice drilled during blindfold sessions with Dundee years earlier. A leather jacket sleeve brushed him. The owner muttered apologies and shoved a halogen lantern toward utility cages. In that brief wash, Ali spotted Volkov farther down the corridor, seated on an equipment trunk while Soviet officials argued in panicked whispers. The Russian stare found Ali. Under intermittent light, he raised 3 fingers, signal, warning, prayer, before handlers hustled him around a corner. Generators coughed to life, fluorescents strobed, stabilized. Ringside Marshal Joe Woodson jogged over, headset askew. "Champ, 5 till television feed. Crowd's drunk on anticipation. You good?" Ali lifted chin, voice steady as ring steel. "Keep the aisle clear, Joe. Tonight we navigate more than ropes." Woodson frowned but motioned security to part ahead. Now only the ramp remained, a gentle incline painted with sponsor logos, jawing straight into the blinding bloom of arena lumens. Each pace forward silenced another layer of background noise, until, at the lips where canvas smell mingled with popcorn steam, an impossible hush formed, as though 18,000 throats collectively forgot the next note. Ali crossed the threshold, and the hush collapsed into avalanche applause. But inside his skull rang nothing except the soft hiss of that dying ballast light, repeating like Morse. Watch the raps, watch the clock, rewrite the script. The bell lands like a distant depth charge, the note warping through bodies and ropes until it reaches Ali as a wool-thick vibration, not a sound. He plants both shoes, heels kissing the sponsor logo, toes flared, and lets his arms hang as though gravity just increased. No salute, no shuffle, only statuesque refusal. Ringside announcer. Bob Sheridan freezes, mouth open. The headset whines with dead air, and in the truck someone hammers a console because the feed registers silence longer than the FCC comfort zone. Across the blue apron, the betting board hiccups. Red LEDs blink, digits halt mid-cycle. 2.4, 2.4, 2.4. A ripple of confusion spreads from smoky balconies to the comped seats of slot machine high rollers. Whistles dart out first, thin, exploratory, then fuse together into one restless boo that coils under the rafters. Camera cranes swing like uncertain searchlights, hunting for movement that refuses to appear. Volkov edges forward, boots scuffing resin. His breath clouds around gum shield even under the harsh lamps. Russian words slip between clenched teeth. Uder, ili smert. Strike or die, yet he too hesitates. Contract iron in the back of his mind, a sanction heavy enough to bankrupt his federation should he break choreography. For a surreal heartbeat, the heavyweights stare, 2 planets in locked orbit, neither daring to disturb the gravitational pact. Sweat born of nothing but scrutiny creeps from beneath Ali's hairline, trails past the ridge of his jaw, then leaps, solitary, to the immaculate canvas. The ring microphones, calibrated to catch glove leather, over-amplify the drip, a plink broadcast in crystal clarity over the public address, absurdly intimate. Gasps answer from every tier. Even the ushers forget to sell beer. Inside Volkov's headgear, steam gathers, rising like prayer in a Russian bathhouse. Veins stand on his temples, eyes shimmer with cortisol. Ali's fingers, still uncurled, buzz so delicately, only he knows the tremor exists. He counts, not seconds, but the remaining edges of the favor owed. 2 minutes 20. Drew still breathing. Fear lodges cold beneath his sternum, yet a spark of rebellion licks at the chill. a private dare to the unseen puppeteers. 20 heartbeats tick by. The auditorium's roar decays into disorganized shouts. Punch, move, fight, then collapses into ragged quiet, the sort reserved for power outages or funerals. Television producers slam desks in New York. Talk show hosts prepare monologues about the night. Boxing finally broke. Ali tracks none of it. He is measuring angles, memorizing the hush, waiting for whatever code word Volkov was commanded to deliver. At 90 seconds, the Soviet inches closer, exhaling through nose so hard it whistles. Ali catches the scent of liniment mixed with cheap cologne, evidence that the challenger dressed himself, not his handlers. He almost speaks, nearly asks if Drew's name still matters, but swallows the impulse. Words are surveillance's favorite currency. The referee's eyes dart from fighter to timekeeper, worried the sport might simply dissolve in front of him. Gloves still idle, crowd still restless. Somewhere up in Section 2:04, a wristwatch alarm beeps. The tiny digital chirp carries in the cavernous stillness like a mockingbird. 10 seconds before the bell, Ali finally shifts weight. Not an attack, merely a breath made visible. Leather soles rasp, trainers scream instructions in 3 languages, flashbulbs erupt because the statue blinked. But instead of throwing, he lets the shot die unborn. Across from him, Volkov's shoulders sag in visible relief, tinged with shame. From the corner behind Ali, Angelo Dundee's voice cleaves the quiet. Cut! A single word, blade sharp, slicing the trance. The champion pivots half a step toward his stool, lungs inflating for what feels like the first time all round. Audience noise surges back, but for him it filters out, replaced by the cavernous hush of blood surging past eardrums, an intake of air so deep it sounds like the moment just before thunder tears open the sky. Seconds leak away in the corner, break like oil under pressure. Ice cubes clatter inside a dented bucket. Cutman Luis digs for a shard, slaps it against Ali's nape, and mutters figures from the hidden microphone. 4 taps on the stopwatch housing, Drew still signaling. Across the ring, Volkov's men peel the Soviet's mouthpiece free. The rubber vacates his lips with a sick pop and the odor of medicated grease. A reporter's flash scalds the gloom and reveals an injection welt high on the Russian's deltoid, an angry pinprick that vanishes once the handlers lift a towel. Bell again, no fanfare this time. Ali advances a half pace and speaks loud enough for only the challenger. You're carrying poison in your bloodstream, brother. Who signed the order? His voice is a rasp dragged over gravel. The house band's inter-round trumpet line has died, so the words carry farther than anyone in production planned. Volkov blinks, comprehension messy behind the eyes, then surges. He never sets his back foot. The lunge is desperate, throwing flab and bone rather than technique, and he slides on a sudden film of petroleum jelly someone smeared near the neutral corner. Canvas squeals. 240-odd pounds skid out of line, leaving him chest to chest with Ali in an ungainly clinch. Noise detonates. Gamblers howl, smelling scandal. Ali locks wrists behind Volkov's triceps, letting the Soviet's weight fold forward so close the audience sees only broad shoulders and a private exchange. Over the referee's command to break, Ali whispers, signals live. Give me proof, he breathes. Volkov's breath rattles like wind through broken blinds. He releases a guttural sentence in accented English. 6 numerals, nothing more, but they land like a door unlocking. Ali absorbs them, counts the beats. 12-0, 9761. A code or a confirmation, it hardly matters. The rhythm fits. They separate at ref's insistence. Crowd venom thickens. Tickets weren't bought for embraces. Ali, still unhurried, now feeds short hooks to the body. Left, right shovel, each buried under the ribs, never climbing north. Commentators scramble for terminology. "He's building a wall of breath," one hazards, not quite believing the phrase himself. Volkov wheezes, tries to answer, but every counter is smothered by foot placement. Ali rehearsed in anonymity on city rooftops at dawn. Between rounds, Volkov's cut crew cannot find enough air. Ammonia sticks swarm his nostrils, failing to reset equilibrium. Generator hum above the rafters drops a register. Lights flicker, as if the building itself doubts what it watches. Dundee leans in, voice a metronome. 2 left in the tank, then clock out. He unwraps a gauze strip, produces an unmarked inhaler, pretends it's liniment. Ali waves it away. Vision must stay clear of even legal fog tonight. 3rd round horn. Volkov staggers forward only to plant a knee deliberately onto the mat. He raises a red glove skyward, the gesture unmistakable. Surrender. The boo that rolls down feels tidal, but fails to move him. He beckons Ali close. Cameras zoom, but shoulders shield sound. Through broken breath, he repeats those 6 digits, then adds a phrase in Russian that no linguist will translate until hours later. "I'd rather bleed honestly than live as tape." A sharp, metallic click crackles inside Ali's left ear. Micro-receiver confirmation from the arena rafters that Drew's room has been breached by agency medics. Relief surges, sternum loosens, but discipline nails the emotion in place. He helps haul Volkov upright so the narrative becomes injury, not cowardice, for the paying masses. The referee waves arms like semaphores, signals a technical knockout. Time of stoppage, 1:38 of the 3rd. Confusion instantly metastasizes through the grandstands. Bookmakers scream into rotary phones, odds dissolved in real time. A single plastic cup arcs from balcony to ringside, explodes in citrus spray against the apron. Above it all, PA announcer struggles for neutral tone, declaring winner by referee intervention, while security mobilizes. Volkov's face is a canvas of resignation. 1 tear threads through petroleum and blood, dropping onto Ali's forearm before either corner can intervene. Cameras catch the droplet's path. A slow-motion director will later call it the saddest meteor. Ali never lifts his hands or mouths victory. He simply nods once, the barest salute to a man who traded his own myth for another's survival. And in the brief hush preceding pandemonium, a faraway ventilation duct thumps 6 deliberate times, someone knocking on metal to say a hostage is breathing and free. The klaxon that follows the referee's gesture is no ordinary arena buzzer. It's the shrill industrial howl reserved for fires, bomb scares, prison breaks. Fluorescent tubes blink into seizure strobe as casino security floods the vomitories. Sneakers squeak over popcorn, radios bark erratic codes, and somewhere under the panic, a roulette wheel in the adjoining gaming hall spins on undisturbed, its ivory ball clicking the pockets like a metronome mocking the chaos. Ali's boots skim the ramp, sweat cooling to salt under the harsh backlights. Shoulder muscles creak and protest inside damp satin, but he keeps the gloves laced. The crowd's roar has mutated into a rough surf of questions. Why stop? Who paid? Where's their refund? Yet every doubter hovers at one unspoken edge. No one has ever seen Muhammad Ali leave the stage this way, gloved, unsmiling, mission half finished. Behind him, Volkov is swallowed by a phalanx of medics in state athletic commission jackets. An IV line dangles from his elbow like a surrender flag. Even wrapped in a gray rescue blanket, the Russian finds Ali's eyes and mouths something. Thread of freedom. The phrase evaporates beneath the TV boom mics, shoving past for better angles. Locker room tunnel. Concrete thick with mildew, faint chemical tang from janitor closets imprisoned by decades of cigarette tar. The moment the champ crosses the threshold, 3 Homeland agents in Navy windbreakers snap plastic restraints around Volkov's cutman and the foreign liaison. White cuffs crinkle and pop. Photographers barrel after them, flashes whitening the narrow hall until everyone looks carved from aspirin. A battered portable reel-to-reel sits on a catering cart, tape unspooled and flapping like celluloid seaweed. The playback head recites a monotone dragnet of CIA instructions. Ensure visible Soviet defeat. Maintain deniability. Repeat code word canary should asset resist. No engineer has patched the loop into broadcast delay. It bleeds live across network feeds. Viewers in Des Moines and Detroit hear the clandestine briefing in the same breath as a soft drink commercial for Tab. Anchormen stutter, then fall silent. Ali pauses beside the cart. His reflection swims in the chrome coffee urn, a mask of swelling and resignation. He flicks the stop switch. The reel breaks with a squeal, leaving the whisper of distant slot machines to fill the void. One gloved hand searches his satin robe pocket and withdraws the silver motel key marked Drew 214. A cough, weak, human, real, echoes from the doorway of the on-site infirmary. Drew steps out, shirt blood paprika'd from whatever rough retrieval the feds staged, but upright. Eyes lock. No words. The key drops from glove to palm as naturally as breath, and Drew's fingers curl around it as though it were the sum total of life still owed. Reporters swell forward. Microphones bloom. Champ, did you throw the... Mohammed, did Langley buy? Sir, is boxing dead? Dundee's broad chest blocks them, but Ali lifts a glove. Let them see. He slides sideways to the giant hotel ice machine churning at the corridor's end. Every bucketful clatters like broken cymbals. He unlatches the plexiglass hopper door. Frosty vapor exhales. From his opposite pocket emerges the incriminating cassette Volkov smuggled to him weeks ago in Beirut, the same coil of truth Webb would have killed to possess. Tape housing clouded, label blank, yet everyone present recognizes the artifact that dragged tonight toward its crooked close. Ali balances the reel on an ice shelf, studies it like a spell, then sends his fist through the mound. Plastic creaks, cracks, vanishes beneath shards. Instantly supercooled water hisses, freezing around ferric oxide like amber around an ant. Photographers gasp, flashbulbs pop, capture the moment a legend destroys the smoking gun that could have hung nations together. The symbolism slams harder than any right cross ever did. Secrets can stay buried, but not leveraged, not in his name. A hulking security sergeant shouts for the hallway to clear. Over the clamp of two-way radios, a fresh siren rises. Emergency services for some scuffle on the casino floor. The building feels alive, convulsing to rid itself of plots. In the swirl, Volkov, now stripped to undershirt and gauze, gives an impromptu confession. A wire-rimmed beat reporter kneels to catch it on microcassette. I watched him float, sting on contraband newsreel. I wanted real fight. Tonight I saw government fear the idea of honest fists. This, comrades, is defeat. Ali listens without turning. A single eyelid droops in weary acknowledgement. His own pulse steadies for the first time in an hour. He peels away the soaked towel draped across his shoulders. Its hotel logo matches the emblem found in that grimy garage at the start of all this, and lets it puddle on the linoleum beside the motel key he no longer needs. Gamblers elsewhere resume cheering at roulette fortunes. The wheel found its rhythm again. In this corridor, though, time empties. Ali feels glove leather tighten as taped hands swell. He flexes, seams groan. The urge to hoist arms, to deliver some triumphant mantra to the lenses, flickers and is gone. Instead, he inhales the chlorine sting of melting ice and says, barely above a backstage whisper, "Belts just paint on metal. Tonight we redrew the lines." Drew's voice answers, ragged, "Still alive, champ." "That's the scorecard," Ali replies. In the distance, a single camera shutter ticks, one last captured frame, before security kills the lights to herd press toward their vans. Darkness slides in, soft as a curtain call. Somewhere beneath the Colosseum floor, an ice dispenser grinds to a halt. Its final crack signals the story's closing bell, and the corridor empties into a hush thick enough to be called peace.